Hi students, this video is to show you how to do the Bugs Bunny assignment. By this time you would have already had some practice with the Mr. Potato Head. If you missed that practice as well, then this video should be the skills that you need for both things. The only difference is that one has a white background, the other one has a red background, and the Bugs Bunny is all on one document instead of two different documents. So for starters, we're going to open up the Bugs Bunny. So you should have downloaded that on your computer, and it's the copy of Bugs Bunny Broken. And then keyboard shortcuts, I will try to do my best to tell you what I'm doing, like zooming in and things like that as I do them. But if you have not studied those keyboard shortcuts and you don't feel familiar with them, then you might want to study those before you get started because they're the premise of Photoshop. All right, so I'm going to hold down Control and click the plus sign to zoom in. And then I'm going to come up here to the head. And just as a general, I would zoom out and explain this better, but just as a general note, we are going to move all the items except for the body. Okay, so the torso in the middle is going to stay where it's at, and then all the other items are going to come down to it. So the first thing we want to do is get this bottom half of the face with the whiskers and all that good stuff. This is the most detailed part of the body. Everything else is really simple. So I'm going to show you how to do this one, and then I'm going to show you how to do one of the arms and or legs. And then you should know how to do the rest of it. So the first thing I need is my quick selection tool, which is this icon up here. If your window is showing the magic wand, which looks like that, all you have to do is click down, hold down, and then come over here to select the quick selection tool. So with the quick selection tool, I can increase the size of it by hitting the right curly bracket. And then I'm just going to select everything that I can on the inside with a nice and big selection tool and just make sure I get everything really, really good. And then we're going to go through and fine tune the outside edge. All right, so even if you make mistakes like that down there, I will show you how you can fix that. But this is the quick selection tool, so we're just picking everything really, really quickly. So now I'm going to hit the left curly bracket to reduce the size of my cursor, and I'm going to hold down the Alt key because Alt takes away your selection. Think of Alt as delete. So if I'm holding down the Alt key, then it's moving this selection to where we want it to be. So I'm just taking away any of the extra. We are going to go through and get the black lines. While I'm nice and small, I can come over here and get some of these edges, but I picked up a little too much over there. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to get these black lines for the whiskers, and we're going to follow all the way around the bottom of the head. So I'm going to zoom in to do that. I'm going to zoom out one time. There we go. Zoomed in a little too far. And if you need to make your cursor smaller, you can. And we're just going to follow along the black line to get the best that we can. And of course, I can make my cursor smaller right here, hold down the Alt key, and bring that up for that little tiny spot. And we're just going to go around and get all the black lines. And I'm not doing the best job right now. My cursor is too big, so if that keeps happening to you like it just happened to me, that means your cursor is too big. So I need to hold down the Alt key, clean this up a little, and then go back through with a smaller cursor and try to get that black line. So I'm going to pause the video for now while I get the rest of the black lines, and so you can pause it until you're done with your black lines, and then you can come back and play the video again. All right, so at this point I have selected everything on the bottom half of the face. The whiskers on the side, I got all the black lines around the edge at the bottom. The black lines around the edge at the bottom are really, really important, and I will show you why we just did it down here once we get to the point where we're placing the head on the body. So at this point, I'm going to increase the size of my tool, and I'm going to pick up these ears. And again, I'm just doing basic selections, nothing crazy up here, and you'll see why it's not that important here in just a few minutes. Okay, so I've got everything. I'm going to go through and get the eye, just like make sure the eyes and everything in here is selected. Because the other day when I was doing this, it didn't take one of the eyeballs for some reason. Okay, so now I've got everything. Now we're going to use a quicker way to get these ears, and here's why. The reason we went through and got all the black lines and made sure we were as detailed as possible around the edge here is because this part is going to match up with the face. Okay, so technically if we wanted to get super technical, it wouldn't have mattered over here on the side so much. But down here at the bottom, it especially matters because when we start matching up this face with this down here, we can't have any of this red, and we also cannot have missing black lines because that would look awkward. And then same thing for the whiskers too. You don't want to be missing any of those black lines. All right, so we're going to go ahead and select our ears using a quicker way rather than zooming all the way in and getting those black lines. It would take a really long time to go all the way around. So we're going to make it a little faster. And how we're going to do that, we're going to come over here and get our lasso tool. So when you hover over this icon here, it should say lasso. If it doesn't, if it says something else, just hold down with your right click, with your left click, sorry, your normal click, and then come over here to choose the lasso tool. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit, Control plus, just enough to where we can see the ears. I went a little too far. In order to do both selections at the same time, because if I were just to click right here and then start going around like I'm getting ready to do, it's going to make a separate selection. So in order to include the selection that we already have, all of this, plus what I'm getting ready to do, we need to hold down the Shift key. Okay, so we're going to hold down the Shift key, and we want to be inside the dancing lines. Okay, so we want to be inside there, and really it doesn't matter where we start, but I'm just going to start right here. Keep the Shift key held down, so don't let go of your Shift key, and then we're going to come right back around to the other side. Okay, now when you let go of everything, your mouse and the Shift key, everything is selected. Okay, so we are moving all these black lines, the top of the face, everything, and then down here it's extremely detailed. Okay, so now I'm going to Control minus to zoom out a little. Now we can pick up our Move tool and we can move the head directly on top of the body. Okay, so obviously we want to make sure we match it up really nice and clean, but while I have it selected, I'm going to show you the difference between the fine tuning that we did at the bottom of the face and the ears. So the fine tuning at the bottom of the face did not take any red with it. You'll notice that as I'm moving this around, even by the whiskers, it's transparent behind it. However, the top of the face and the ears, since we used the quicker way to select all of that, you can see that the maroon follows it, so it's not transparent behind the ears. So that's really important, an important concept to understand and apply to the rest of the assignment. If there's parts that are going to be matched up directly to the body, you want to make sure that you fine tune just like we did on the chin, but the other part you can kind of cheat a little bit. So I'm going to try to place that as nice and neat as I can. Trying to figure out exactly where it goes. Okay, so that's good. Once we have it placed exactly where we want it, we can do Control D, and Control D deselects. So now I am going to, first of all, move this arm out of the way because the arm needs to go up here by the face. So I'm going to very quickly move that. And remember, if we use our lasso tool, it takes the red with it, which is perfectly fine because we're just moving it. So that selected it. We're going to choose the move tool and we're going to move it up and out of the way. Okay, so we're going to move it about right here. Okay, we are going to place it right there, but before we do that, we have to do our fine tuning for all the parts that are going to be really close right here. So we would need to fine tune here and then maybe up through here just to be sure. And then the rest of it, we could do the quick selection tool. So I'm going to show you how to do that real fast. Control D to deselect. I'm going to zoom in. And it looks like we have a little bit of lines left over from the face, but that's okay. So I'm going to pick up my quick selection tool and I can actually select the whole thing. I'm going to zoom out so you can see what I just did. When I selected that blue, it selected all of it. So I can come up here and pick up this other part right here and just make sure everything in here is selected. And then now I'm going to fine tune. And remember, it just needs to be the parts that are going to mesh up directly. So I'm going to decrease the size of my cursor using the left curly bracket. And I'm going to pick up the black the best that I can. I'm going to make my cursor a little smaller, hold down the Alt key, and get rid of this red that's right here that wants to follow. And this one, I can already tell it's not going to be perfect, just simply because the black line is here, but it doesn't follow on the other sides. So matter of fact, I'm just going to deselect. I'm going to deselect that black line. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key and just get the blue, because that might save me some time here in just a minute. Okay, and then like I said earlier, you can make it fast since the black lines around the whole arm aren't going to be meshing up with anything, so we can select those quicker. So we're going to grab our lasso tool. We're going to start right here, hold down the Shift key, and then we're going to circle around the whole thing. Oops, got that really close. And then back right there. And then now we're ready to move it into place. And depending on how closely we need it, we should be good. Okay, so we probably should have fine-tuned a little bit better right there, but that's okay. Just for the purposes of showing you how to do this. I'm going to place it right. I'm going to place it right there. Okay, so now we can hit Control D to deselect. The last thing you're going to do is zoom way in, and you're going to use your paintbrush to fix those lines right there. And in the rule, if I were really doing this assignment, I would have went back and re-fine-tuned this side. That way I can match it up perfectly, so that way we don't have these awkward spaces here because it's supposed to be up a little bit. But now we're just going to color it. So we'll pick up our paintbrush up here at the top. So here's our paintbrush. We will click on this white space to change the color. And then rather than trying to pick the color that's perfect, you can just use the dropper. So we click on the blue. We can click OK. And that's really, really big. So we use the left curly bracket to make it smaller. And then we can just go through and recolor. And obviously you'll have to resize your color tool several times, just like we resize our other tools. All right, so that's how you do it. I'll let you go and do the other limbs and have fun.